The artist recreates the world.
Welcome to the Artist Recreates the World. I'm with Dimitri Reyes.
What up?
My man. This young man right here, poet, educator, editor.
Poet, educator, editor, writer, right?
Yes.
Do other things.
Yes.
Community organizer, man.
Oh, yeah. We should have said that first, right?
Yeah.
Here
It's
in
all
Newark,
good.
right?
Yeah. Hometown, baby.
But truly a gift to the city and to the world. I call him, I'm still working on this name so I might have to tweak it, but I call him the intellectual man's poet. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if I heard
Yeah.
that somewhere before and I stole it, but that was kind of coming to my mind. I've seen you a few times, and you make a brother and a sister think when you go in. So you can tell us. You can start wherever you wanna. That was my intro.
Man, what I think about when I think of writing, man, like whatever I put down on the page is kind of just like experience, you know? So like being out here in nature, looking at the people pass by, hearing the sirens pass by, it's the soundscape of the urban environment. It's the soundscape of where I grew up, like a lot of stuff I've been writing recently. My stuff's been kind of changing because, I don't know if you remember Newark Drugs, but Newark Drugs is like right over here.
Mm-hmm.
There was that big pharmacy right on the corner of Academy Street. That closed down and went down. I was over here in Military Park when it wasn't really Military Park yet. The carousel wasn't there.
When was the real military park?
Yeah, right. When you had to come here in army fatigues and shit.
Why does all these sirens come up when we start
These
out?
really big buildings went up. I was here before even Prudential was really around here and in the mix, and when 10 Spot was still Persuasion and that was real heavy, and going to the McDonald's and skating here in high school, walking through Rutgers University to get to Newark Tech High School. That was another crazy time too. I'm just blessed, and I owe it to to the community to actually been able to have embraced me and have me here. And now that I'm over here and I can write about certain things from the neighborhood, write about my Latinx identity and the diaspora a little bit, to kind of give that back to the community and expose that, so everyone could feel what I'm feeling. And I feel like everyone coming up in this generation kind of feels that way also, they're just in the middle of everything coming up here.
They want to give it back. They want to get back to the city, but they want to give it back, specifically the artists, through the art.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, let me give a shout out to Fran Barkowski. She's the one who
I love Fran.
Helped us meet the coolest sister in the world, all over. She set us up. She was like, "Oh, you need an editor?" Bam. And I won't even go into the editing, and of course.
That's a crazy life, man.
This guy's like a miracle man with the ideas and the concepts, taking some of my writing and giving it back to me polished and saying, "I didn't know what you meant here or here, so you fixed it."
Which, by the way, wait for it, it's gonna drop soon. What are we waiting for?
Quality of heart.
Quality of heart.
Yeah.
Yo, your heart will be made of quality after this.
I didn't ask him for that plug. Much love. So what is art to you?
Art, man. What is art to me? Art, I was actually, I'm a student in the Rutgers MFA program, right, for poetry. So we talk about craft, we talk about what makes a poem, what are we doing with these poems, what is our purpose once we take this poem and we put it out into the world. And we had this conversation last time about what it means to be a poet, that when you're writing, you're not really writing from the sense of yourself, you're kind of stepping into this different body, this different vessel, and they said it was like a shell you put on, right? But man, when I step into this word, and I went to go to do this work, it's not only me that I'm really talking about with this art. It's it's my family, it's the community, it's my high schools, my grade schools, my teachers. It's La Historia of Puerto Rico. All these ghosts come and mingle with me when I'm in this ethereal spirit kind of vortex.
Yeah.
And they speak to you when you're writing, and the stuff you put down is is out of this world. Like sometimes I start writing on one subject, and by the time I'm done with a poem, it's in a couple of different voices, and it's in a different subject, and I sit down and realize that like this poetry is like a tool, you know. This poetry is a tool to reach those kids. Shout out to Ridge Street and shout out to North Tech, a couple places where I teach and stuff. It reaches the community when I'm out here and I'm reading to like 5 or 6 people, or I put my video on YouTube and all of a sudden like I get like 100 hits on it or something like that, or I publish something, and something that I wrote about Brick City, like about a little bodega burning down or something in North Newark, someone is touched like all the way in the Bay Area, California, by reading my stuff, and we're all linked somehow, man. Like metaphysically, like spiritually, in this work of art, like we're all linked somehow, you know. And our job as like poets, our job as writers and artists, are to kind of feed into one another, you know. Like community is like a really big deal, especially like if you're in the North scene and you're in this neighborhood, like you're gonna run into so many different artists. You're gonna run into so many different artists, and that's what art lies. Art is community. Art is that mask you put on in order to convey a different message, you know.
Oh, that was good. So that'll wrap our interview. We'll see. Very. So let me switch. So what do you think about how Puerto Rico's been handled recently? We're in 2017. Take a breath. And our president. And then. And I'm going to talk about this because the thing is, we need to talk about it.
Yeah, no.
And as artists, we can talk about it. So, last night, we had the shooting in Las Vegas, and I understand the count was 58 dead and over 400 people injured. Mm-hmm. And so now, I understand that today they actually had a ceremony for these people that passed away. So, but I'm trying to measure that compared to what just happened to people in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And I know people, see, it's a hard thing to talk about because people's lives are at stake, but people have died, many more lives have been taken in the past over lesser things. But what are your feelings on that? And I know I threw a lot there. I mean, just take a little piece and then we'll cut because...
I mean, I'll start with like... I'll start here and then I'll try to trace it back to the island. Like, I was having this conversation this morning with my mom. Like, my mom was just going crazy. She was getting the kids ready for school. She saw this on the news. Like, my grandfather's in Maya West, so we only get maybe like about 4 or 5 minutes to talk to him before he passes the phone on to someone else. Because there's a bunch of people living in one spot right now. One phone works and they're trying to contact other families. So, you know, my mom was just like, I don't know what's wrong with the world, and, you know, like, I don't know what my kids are like getting themselves into, you know. Like, my sisters, they're 7 and they're 12, right? So they're seeing this stuff at 7 and they're seeing this stuff at 12, and what's going to happen when they start going into the real world? Like, we got this crazy president running rampant around talking about Kaepernick taking a knee instead of talking about the people in Puerto Rico.
Don't understand that.
We were calling this guy in Las Vegas a terrorist, but we never looked at who this guy was. And then when we found out who this guy was through a picture, you know, everything goes quiet, right? So I was talking to my mom, I was talking to my 12-year-old sister, and I was like, be that change in the world that you want to see, right? Because you can't inflict all those things immediately. You can't disrupt the structure immediately. But if you have a bunch of people on the same page, if there's a bunch of people that are organized, if there's a bunch of people that have their mind right and talking the same thing and walking in the same direction, like, change will come, you know? Now, as far as Puerto Rico's concerned, man, like, one, being in America, you don't really get your Puerto Rican history, right?
That's another...
that's a whole other thing.
That's another interview
like,
right there.
When my grandparents came, right, my grandfather came here when he was 18. My grandmother came here when she was like 2 or 3, so she was kind of Americanized. But my grandfather coming from Puerto Rico to America, he didn't really know anything about the Puerto Rican culture, right? Because when you're in these systems, when you're in these certain settings...
When you're in the Americas, I'll say it.
When you're in the Americas, all you know is work for a lot of the time. you're just thinking about that hustle. You're just trying to help out your parents. You're trying to get by. So even when he came to the States, he was trying to come for like a better job. He went from working in like, oh God, he worked from working like, I'm trying to think of the word in English, like a dry cleaners that was ran out of his parents' house.
Right.
And he came here, and the best job he found was working in a factory. A factory of textiles, by the way. So he never even left this labor of stitching. He never left this labor of like that veil that just like covers him from doing different things. And he did that till he retired. So, and within all of this, there's no time to like educate yourself on what happened or educate yourself why, you know, your parents are doing this out of your house and you're still impoverished, although you're running your own business. And America's taken a lot from like a lot of these small countries, and a lot of people don't know about that, you know. And now we're seeing the ramifications, and now we're starting to see like these vibrations of saying, oh, you know, we're gonna go help this country, but it's been like 2 or 3 weeks and shit's still docked in San Juan, and that's all the way on the east, and then all the way on the west, like roads are still not cleared and people aren't being able to get their food, and you can't even trust the difference between what's going on with fake news and what's going on this island, because like, I mean, I'm seeing things on Facebook. You really got to just try to watch out for your own, call them and see how they're doing. But because of this institutionalized form of like chattel slavery, like this institutionalized form of labor, even those people you're running into, they're mad hush. Because when I talk to my grandfather, well, when my mom talks to my grandfather, when she talks to the uncles and stuff, they say they're fine, but that's because they don't really want us to worry about them, you know what I mean? Right. So it's kind of like the whole nothing's happening if you're not seeing it thing, which it's kind of something they fed us. And there's a bunch of us that are thinking, you know, hey, if I just keep quiet, it goes away.
But it doesn't.
But it doesn't. But it doesn't.
Well, it's just passed to the next generation.
Yeah, and that's where this work comes in, man.
Right.
That's where this work comes in. We're recording these histories, putting this stuff on paper, right? Putting this
Changing
stuff
the
on
mindset.
art form. Yeah.
Letting people know this is how it really is, from people that have done the work, have lived a life, have seen it, have experienced it, have gotten the education or whatever, however you get educated, and then bringing it back in whatever art form that is. So, and for me, the writers are critical. Writers are critical because we have these years and years and years of writing that we have to overcome. These novels and these myths and this and that, and our story is just being told. Right. And when I say our story, I'm saying people of color. We're gonna close on that. People of color. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, man. Thanks, keep doing your work.
Appreciate it.
Come back. I'm gonna start into
Snap is hard.
Yeah, I'm gonna start inviting people to come back every year because this is vital.
It's an ongoing conversation.
Yes, and that whole Puerto Rican island thing, because now what's going to happen? Because this is like a bag of tricks. You pull out a bag of tricks. And I'm starting it all over again. Yeah. We out, y'all. We out. Check him out. Thank you. Dimitri. Oh, almost did that trick.
Almost, nah, but you're good. You're good.
He's telling me how people be butchering up his name. Yeah, but, and if you need an editor, if you're doing some writing and need an editor, hit him up. You're on Facebook now, right?
I'm on Facebook.
Just got on Facebook.
I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube, right? So
how they spell your last name so they know?
Reyes. Like the baseball player, but no relation. My first name's harder though.
Dimitri.
Dimitri. All vowels.
Thanks for coming through, man.
Thanks for having me.
Much love. Peace. We out.
We out.
Now artists go recreate your world. Yeah.